I'm a Protestant and I went to a Catholic church for the first time. So going into this, honestly, I was expecting very quiet, very mellow, very structured service. I was expecting everyone to be dead serious and not a lot of joy, kind of just reading the Bible from Genesis to Revelations. And honestly, I didn't even think that Catholics sang songs. I legit thought we were going to sit there, read the Bible, and maybe take the Eucharist. And honestly, it was not what I expected. So as I arrived to the church, the first thing that stuck out to me is the building was absolutely beautiful. It was like a church and a school combined. It kind of had like old Spanish Santa Barbara feeling. I actually know that Mark Wahlberg goes to that church, and I was surprised the amount of people that were there. There was legit over 1,000 people at that church, and what it seemed like 1,000 people. As I walked in, they had this like big vase that had a bunch of water, and I later found out that was holy water. And also there was a bunch of statues of all these different saints and kind of like their story and like what they did. I wasn't expecting that. And then as I walked into the sanctuary, there was a humongous image of Jesus, which is extremely different than the church that I go to. The church that I go to, there's just a stage, that's about it, and screens and stuff like that. But in here, a huge thing of Jesus. There was someone on the side, I think it was Saint Joseph. I believe Mary was on the other side, and all the windows surrounding the sanctuary, there was a bunch of different saints on the glass. One of them honestly looked like a skeleton. I wasn't sure what that was about. Yeah, it was extremely different than the church that I normally go to. So the first thing that happened, the pastor or priest, I don't know, there was two of them. They kind of walked down the middle aisle of the church. It was definitely extremely structured, from like the routes that they walked, the things that they said. And then someone started singing. And honestly, I was surprised that it was a woman. Again, I was going into this experience only knowing about the Catholic Church from the YouTube comments. And the YouTube comments make it seem like it's extremely structured and women are not leading the church, and kind of like in the book where it says women should be quiet. That's kind of what I was expecting going into this, but a woman started singing. I had no idea where to find the words to the song that she was singing, so it was kind of hard to follow, and that's kind of like the theme of the entire experience there. It's like sometimes people were kneeling, sometimes people were standing up. They had specific prayers that I had no idea where these prayers came from. At first, I thought they were from the Bible, but then I was like, I don't think this is in the Bible, so I don't know where these prayers all come from. And then after that, the priest went up and gave his sermon, which it wasn't from the Bible. That was like something that I think was on his heart. And he talked about having a closer relationship with Christ that's not just a tradition, which was very interesting because that's kind of like what most people think about with Catholics. Is some things that people try to say about Catholics is just they're very tradition based, not a relationship based. So it was very interesting that the priest was explaining that sometimes Catholics may struggle to have a personal relationship with Christ because they get bored or because everything becomes a ritual and there's not as much meaning behind it. Another thing that I would say is, as someone that maybe has ADD or someone that has a need for new things, I would personally find it extremely hard to go to a Catholic church my entire life and do the same exact rituals every single Sunday. Not saying that it's bad, not saying that I don't applaud people that can do that, but for me personally, I don't even like driving home the same way every day. So to do the same exact rituals for my whole life, honestly, would be extremely hard. Not saying that I won't end up converting to Catholicism or something else, but that is definitely something that stood out to me. And honestly, something that I was most excited about was the Eucharist. And I'm not gonna lie, it was very surprising to me. Again, they were doing certain types of like rituals and praying, and they held up the Eucharist, which they believe is the actual body and blood of Christ. And honestly, it was very dramatic. Like when he held it up, I was like, dang, like these people are very serious about this. And then he broke it up. I believe he drank from a cup. And this is the most surprising part to me. They had women, along with the priest, hand out the Eucharist. So some people would walk up to the priest and kind of kneel down, and he would put the Eucharist on their tongue. And then other times people would kind of go up like this, and he would hand them the Eucharist. And then some of the women went to the back of the room and they were handing out the Eucharist. So that was a complete shock to me. Again, I'm coming at this from straight YouTube comment land to see women not only like singing, not only reading the Bible in front of everyone, but handing out the Eucharist. I was just surprised. And honestly, I was happy about it, but it was not what I was expecting. The next part that really surprised me is they actually didn't drink any wine or juice or whatever. It was only the bread. Again, that was extremely surprising to me because I am coming at this from, this is about to be the most high church experience of my life. And they only did, in my opinion, half of the communion. And again, I'm not trying to disrespect anyone, but I hear so much feedback about how Protestants take communion lightly, but then I go to a Catholic church and then they don't even drink any wine or drink any juice or anything. I'm not judging, I'm just saying I was surprised. And then lastly, they wrapped everything up. And then that was the end of the service. And then there was one more kind of dramatic situation that happened. So my friend Evan took me to a Catholic church. He told me to walk behind him to go up to the priest to get the Eucharist. And he told me when you walk up to the priest, you do something like this. So the priest knows that you're not supposed to take it because you're not Catholic. Which honestly, it did kind of hurt my heart because I feel like I love Jesus. I love God. I believe God loves me. And I believe we have a real relationship. And I wasn't allowed to take the Eucharist because I wasn't a part of the Catholic Church. And I'm just going to try to emphasize this. This did honestly really bother me. I wasn't mad, but I was just like, dang, like this feels a little exclusive. It feels like you have to be under these rules to be a part of the communion, which I thought Jesus came here to get rid of all the rules and all the laws, but we'll talk about that in a different video. So anyways, we're in line. My friend Evan takes his communion. I walk up, I go like this. The priest gives me a blessing and I was chewing gum. And as me and Evan walked away, he turned around and saw me chewing. And he was like, dude, did you just take the Eucharist? Oh my God, you're not supposed to do that. And as a joke, I was like, oh, I did. It's okay. And he was like, no way. You're not supposed to take the Eucharist. Kind of freaking out in front of the church. And I was like, dude, it's all good. Like, I didn't take it. It's just gum. And again, it really surprised me how serious Catholics take the Eucharist. A part of me respects it. And then a part of me is like, I don't know. I'm still trying to come to my final conclusion answer on what is the Eucharist. Obviously, I have a ton of respect for Catholics and their beliefs. And I have a ton of respect on the Eucharist. I don't take it lightly at all. And honestly, I need to go brushing up on scripture on what it says. But from what I remember, he says, take this in remembrance of me. So in my head, it is a spiritual sacrament. It is extremely serious. It is not taken lightly. But the Catholic Church says something else. So I'm still investigating on what that is going to be for me. So my overall reflections on it is, would I go to a Catholic church again? Yes. Do I want to figure out why that Catholic church doesn't take entire communion? Yes. Am I willing to switch from going from a non-denominational church to that specific Catholic church? Probably not right now. There's still a lot of things that I want to understand. And honestly, when it comes to going to church, as a father of now 5 children, the church experience is so different going from a Protestant church to a Catholic church. Another thing that I even touch on is like all the children of the church are in the room while service is going. I don't know if that church had a children's place or not, but it definitely was noticeable that there was a bunch of children making noises and sitting next to us. So I have a 2-year-old, a 7-year-old, an 8-year-old, and a 14-year-old, and then a baby on the way. So my 2-year-old is not going to be able to sit down and just be quiet for those amount of time. I definitely wouldn't want him to be on an iPad while the pastor is preaching. And I honestly don't know if my middle children would enjoy going to church at a Catholic place, but they definitely enjoy going to a Protestant church. And the Protestant church, while I'm in the sanctuary learning, they are also teaching my children. My children know the fruits of the Spirit. They know the characters of the Bible. They are learning and understanding who Jesus is. And I don't think they would be able to learn those things at a Catholic church at their age. So to wrap this up, I love my brothers and sisters at the Catholic Church. I respect your guys' beliefs. And what I am honestly trying to do with this channel is get the truth of Christ. I don't want to blindlessly follow the YouTube comments and not go search the truth for myself. I also don't want to single out or point out any Christian beliefs that I don't agree with, because at the end of the day, I am not God. I am not the final judge, jury, or police of the faith. But what I do want to do is educate myself and help all of you guys get educated in an unbiased opinion about different denominations of the Christian church. So if you're a Catholic watching this, let me know in the comments. Did I get anything wrong? Let me know your thoughts on the church not taking the full communion. So yeah, just let me know your thoughts.